Welcome, everybody. I really appreciate you attending our program today. We're privileged to have Ed Ruckriegel with us, Madison's Fire Marshal and Emergency Operations Coordinator. Now, if there's a guy who knows something about safe housing, it's Ed. And so I want to get you right to him. Ed, if you could unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into this crazy business and launch into your presentation, please.
Sure. Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. How did I get into this crazy business? Well, I don't know, it was back in probably 1978. I had the interest in becoming a paramedic, and the best path to becoming a paramedic was through the fire service. Mm-hmm. So I joined the volunteer fire department there in the neighborhood and never became a paramedic. Stuck with the fire part of it. So yeah, that was back in 1979. So been at it for a few years. As I was telling Mike a minute ago, most of my career in the fire service has really been in administration. My role really has been fire prevention almost since day one. Worked for City of Las Vegas Fire Department for a few years. That was very interesting. And then in 1990, my wife and I came to Madison for this job. So Madison's a great place. But I will share my screen and we'll jump right into the discussion topic for today, which is selecting safe housing, right? We all live in something, right? Whether it's a house, an apartment, or a condominium, whether it's with a few people in the home or a house full of a family and kids and what have you. But there are lots of things that we should do or should think about as we think about housing options. With your going through the different life phases and changes and what have you, there are different reasons we change housing. But as we're making those housing changes, we should always think about safety, right? And there are a lot of different ways we could do that. We'll talk a little bit about that. So, just as I say, when you think about housing options, what's best for you, number of bedrooms and bathrooms, number of stories, total square footage, location, right? That's what the realtors always say. But when I think about safety and location is it close to the fire station? Is it close to the police station? Is there a fire hydrant close by? But then again, I'm the fire nerd, so I always think about those kinds of things. And then also, is the home, the apartment, or the condominium accessible? And when I say accessible, it's really a definition in the building code. And then also, you've got to throw in adaptability, right? Whether it's it truly means accessible and complies with the building code or not. Can we make it adaptable for ourselves and our family as we age, right? So as you know, I'm with the fire department, so I have to start with, of course, the fire aspect of this. One of the things that I find that people find surprising is that today you're more likely to die in a fire than you were in 1980. And that's really just it's a statistical thing, because the number of fires have gone down over the years, but the number of fire fatalities remains really flat. It seems like no matter what we've done in the fire service, we just have not been able to whittle away at that number of about 3,000 fire fatalities a year. We also know that the very young, kids under age 5 and people over age 65 are the most at risk of dying in a fire. And the best way to do that is really through fire sprinklers. I know that, fire sprinklers are one of those things that people have always see as something that it's in the commercial setting, like in businesses and factories and offices and what have you. But the state building code now requires that all multifamily housing with 3 or more dwelling units to be equipped with fire sprinklers are required to be installed in the building. So all new apartment buildings, condominiums are going to have fire sprinklers. There are a lot of myths about fire sprinklers, and Hollywood has not done us any favors with that. You'll see on a TV or a movie that, there's a small fire, it gets smoky, and all the sprinklers go off at once. That's not true. They all don't activate at the same time, and they do not activate by smoke. They are each individually heat activated at about 155 degrees. So it's very easy to live with fire sprinklers. You're not going to get an accidental discharge. You're not going to get that, there's nothing that you're doing in the home on a daily basis that's going to cause a sprinkler head to activate. That last bullet point, it's your responsibility to be fire safe. I always ask people, what are the three leading causes of fire? Think about it for a minute. Most people will say, well, it's cooking or smoking or electrical. Well, really, the three leading causes of fire in the United States are men, women, and children. We cause the fires, whether it's careless cooking or careless smoking or improperly discarding your ashes from the grill, whatever it might be. But fire sprinklers are really the answer to reducing the number of fire fatalities in the United States. Fire sprinklers save lives, they save property, they save money, because it's often cheaper to install fire sprinklers than to put in a bunch of firewalls and fire doors and those kinds of things. But it's also, fire sprinklers are good for the environment. So if you have any questions about fire sprinklers, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We can get you quite a bit more information about, fire sprinklers and why you should have fire sprinklers in your home. So other fire safety options or requirements, smoke alarms, right? Smoke alarms are great. Smoke alarms should be equipped with the best type of system is one with hardwired to the home power system, to the electrical system with battery backup. Second to that is smoke alarms with 10-year batteries. And then also the tamper resistant 10-year batteries, so that somebody doesn't get that nuisance alarm and go pull the battery out of it. We know that about, in the United States, there are about 85% of the homes have smoke alarms, but we also know through run data and fire incidents that about 45% of those smoke alarms don't work. So it's so important, once they're installed, maintain them. Another thing people don't know about smoke alarms is that they're only good for 10 years. If they've been installed hanging on that ceiling, doing their job for 10 years, it's time to replace them. If you twist the detector off the base, you'll see on the bottom of the detector a date, and that's the date that it was manufactured. So 10 years after that date, the smoke alarm should be replaced. If there's no date, it's older than 10 years. Okay, so then, in other type multifamily housing, a lot of apartment buildings and condominiums have fire alarm systems. They're wonderful fire safety systems. They're connected to the sprinkler system. When something happens in the common area, not within the apartment, but when something happens in the common area, everyone in the building is alerted of the fire problem. Carbon monoxide alarms are also that, that first line of defense in your home to protecting your family. Fire extinguishers are very important. Fire extinguishers are a good idea, but we don't want anybody to use a fire extinguisher on a fire that's larger than a trash can. If it's bigger than a trash can, fire doubles in size every 30 seconds. So chances are it's going to get going and go going really fast. We want you out of the house at that point. And then the last thing that's out there, I won't say it's sort of a new technology. It's arc fault circuit interrupters. I'm sure you've all heard of ground fault circuit interrupters, which are installed in bathrooms and kitchens. But arc fault circuit interrupters are breakers that go into the electrical panel that sense a short or an arc in the wiring, and it'll cut the power to it. Okay. So all new buildings, all apartment buildings have arc fault circuit interrupters on their bedroom circuits. And the reason the code identifies the bedroom circuits is just, again, go and look at that fire data and what have you. We know that that's generally where you're going to get the arcs and short circuits and those kinds of things, and in overloaded outlets. So let's do a quick tour of the house. That's what we're going to talk about as we talk through this. We're going to talk about the exterior of the home, kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms, and then some living areas. So as you think about safety in the home, a good idea to think about the layout of the home. One level is best, right? If you look at information from the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the CDC, then the Safe Kids Coalition. We know that falls on stairs is one of the leading causes of injuries in the home. So we always recommend for as we age in our homes that we really need to avoid stairs. So on the main level, do you have a bedroom? Do you have a full bath, kitchen, entry and exit way, laundry facilities, your living areas, and your TV room? That's really the best. And if you notice, if you've ever looked at housing like at say Oakwood Village or Attic Angels, they are all one level apartments or condominiums, what have you. They're really designed for us as we age in place or age in our home. And then always that last one is can it be modified? Can we make changes in our home? Can we take the laundry facilities from the basement and put it up into somewhere on the first floor? I know that we did that for my grandmother years ago. Moved the laundry from the basement to actually to a corner of our kitchen. Flooring options is another one. Again, you look at the injury data, and there are a lot of trips and falls, slips on the hardwood floors, the carpet, area and throw rugs are a big hazard in the home. And then also the transitions, as you move from one flooring type to another, what's that edge or a lip like right there? And is it pretty flat so that even as you're walking through the house, it's not a trip hazard? Or even, you think about it in terms of using a wheelchair or other device to get around, walker, whatever it might be. Those transitions really can be a barrier. There are a lot of flooring options out there, and I suggest you really talk to one of the local distributors of flooring. There are plenty of retailers out there that will help you make good choices, and builders as well. Let's look at the exterior real quick. What are the number of stairs getting into and out of the home? Where's the parking? Is parking close by? Can you park in the garage? Are you parking, in a public area where, you might need to go through a parking garage, get into an elevator, get up to the floor? What's that distance between the parking and the dwelling unit? Also access to mail and deliveries, right? Is that somebody going to be delivering to your front door, or do you need to go somewhere to get it? Those are things to consider. And always the outdoor space, right? We all like to be outdoors some, right? So that patio or the yard or the balcony, it's always a good option to have available for you. Maintenance, right? Wherever we live, we have to maintain it, or somebody has to, whether it's us as the homeowner or the apartment owner or the renter or whatever. You got a property management company that's doing that, but maintenance has to be done. And that's one of the things that to think about. I think talking about maintenance, one of the advantages to having a new apartment or new condo is that the maintenance really just isn't there. And then again, the whole idea are modifications simple and not expensive. We'll move on to the bathroom, right? The grab bars or blocking for the grab bars. I know we recently had a walk-in shower installed in our home, and the contractor installed blocking behind the wall so that at some point we can install grab bars. Good idea. But also, are the grab bars around the toilet and the shower facility? A couple years ago, my mom, she was at home and had Parkinson's, so we went down and installed a chair height toilet for her. That was certainly was a good idea and really made it convenient for her. So these are the kinds of things, like I say, look in the bathroom in order to prove your safety, the functionality of the home. Walk-in shower or low threshold shower, good idea. And the doorways, very, very few homes have 36-inch doorways. Most homes built, oh gosh, I don't know, unless you're specifying something different, you're going to get a 32-inch door. 32-inch door is really tough with mobility devices like, walkers, wheelchair, that kind of thing. And that 60-inch maneuvering space is also really important. I mean, that's a pretty big bathroom, but yet it's so important. People get in, get around, do what you need to do.
Ed, when you say
Sink.
maneuvering space, what does that encompass? 60-inch maneuvering space. What is that?
Actually, if you take a 60-inch sphere and draw it on the floor of the bathroom, do you have that
Okay.
much clear space in front of the toilet, the shower, the sink? So
Everywhere?
that,
66 inch, 60 diameter, 60-inch diameter circle.
yep.
You can get around. Boy, that would
Yeah.
be big in a lot of places, right? I mean, our house doesn't have that much space. It's built in the 60s, but there isn't a lot of space in even the main bathroom.
Right. Yep. No, I hear you, Mike. Our
Mhm.
bathroom is really small as well. But and as you said, any home built in probably the 60s, 70s, maybe even through the 80s, the bathrooms just are not very big.
Mhm. And do you mind if people chime in like I did while we're going, or would you rather have us hold our questions till later?
Oh no, go ahead and chime in. You bet.
Okay, so
Please do.
if you have questions, please, or comments for Ed, please jump in, okay?
Yep, please do. Go ahead. So that the whole idea of the sink without a cabinet underneath of it, so that if you're using a wheelchair around the home, you can wheel up to the sink and brush your teeth, wash your face, whatever. But with that cabinet underneath of there's no room to put your legs, and so you're twisting your body to access the sink. And then also that whole idea of access to toiletries and personal care items. So you storing those things down low where you can reach them. You're not overreaching, right? So we look at the bedroom now, right? I mentioned the 36-inch door, closed closets, and the heights of your essentials. And then, as I mentioned, the arc fault circuit interrupters. Like I said, most new apartments are going to have the arc fault circuit interrupters. The code is not requiring them in homes yet. Hopefully someday they will. And then, with the bedroom, you can always get adaptive devices later, whether it's bed rails or that, could assist getting in and out of the bed or preventing falls in the bedroom. Living areas, again, the 36-inch doors, grab bars and grab rails. Again, looking at the floor plan of the layout of the house, are there high travel areas that grab bars and handrails would be a good idea, maybe along the hallway, a couple of spots in the kitchen. Speaking of the kitchen, that again, we talked about that working space in the bathroom, but you also need that working space in front of the stove, the kitchen, and the refrigerator, right? Or the stove, the sink, and the refrigerator. Good maneuverability space. Those assistive devices take up space and make it difficult to move around in small spaces. That second point there, never have a microwave over the stove. If you look at burn injuries and scald injuries from microwaves, most of those occur when the microwave is over the stove. While it saves counter space, it's really a good idea. You look at the, like I say, you look at the injury data on small kids trying to use microwaves. You're taking something extremely hot out of a small box right at face level. You're reaching over a stove. Often people are using the microwave while they're also using the cooktop. So if you have any loose fitting clothes on, is that clothing dragging into the burners on the stove? Yeah. If you have a over the stove microwave, I suggest you to relocate it. Not what you want to hear, right? But it's a good idea. And also the countertop height is important. Things to think about. And then access to the sink, much like the bathroom sink. A couple other considerations to think about with safe housing is do you have some place to seek shelter during a storm? We live in Wisconsin, maybe not completely in Tornado Alley, but there are times every year that we need to seek shelter from severe weather. So it's important to have a plan, and know if you're living in an apartment or a condominium, to know where the property manager has designated as the storm shelter. Emergency power is also a good idea, whether you're living in a single family home, apartment, or, at least to illuminate the common areas so that if you need to leave the apartment or the condo, is there some type of lighting in the hallway when the power goes out?
I noticed
And
that,
also,
let me chime in just again. We had in our neighborhood multifamily housing complex proposed, and the builder, the land, the developer didn't want to put in any sort of basement right there. So essentially, this new housing complex is just built on a slab, and you don't have any sort of storm protection other than, I guess, jumping in the bathtub. So why isn't there some sort of a provision in the codes in the building codes for storm shelter?
well, I'll try not to get political here, but the codes our building codes, the national building codes do have provisions for storm secure building homes. But when at the state level, when we adopt our codes, there's often Wisconsin changes. And, those Wisconsin changes are really driven by the political atmosphere at the state capitol, unfortunately. And, the emphasis is reduce the cost of housing to make housing more affordable, which is extremely important. So in reducing the cost of housing, they often pull out some of the things that are really safety focused, like fire sprinklers, like a storm shelter, like hold down clips on the roof assembly. Those kinds of things those things are required in some other communities, but they're not required in Wisconsin. So I'll leave it's unfortunate.
Okay, well, thanks a lot.
Like I say, living in an apartment complex or a condominium with the common areas, good property management, making sure those areas are safe, make sure the fire doors are kept closed and the fire safety systems are maintained and what have you. That's a kind of a quick tour of the home, right? And safety considerations in the home. Are there other questions?
Well, I have a comment. This is Virginia. Many years ago, when my mother-in-law was old and I was younger, she came to stay at our house for a couple of days, and trying to be diligent, I pulled up the throw rug in the bathroom, which had a latex backing on it. And that night she fell. And I believe what happened is she came to that spot where the floor was polished by that latex backing and lost her balance, and down she went. And I felt terrible about it ever since. So I would just say to people who are thinking about pulling up throw rugs, pay attention to the condition of the floor that's underneath. Thanks.
Yeah, good point. Yep.
Interesting.
I have a question. This is Karen. You said there are life expectancies, 10 years for fire alarms. Is there the same time limit on a carbon monoxide detector?
Some carbon monoxide detectors are 5 years.
Okay, but so they should be replaced regularly.
Yes, but the older carbon monoxide detectors are 5 years. There are some out there that are 7, and now they're finally getting to manufacturing some carbon monoxide. They're really new technology, the 10-year.
Okay, thank you.
Ed, this is Jim. I know that the adage about men, women, and children being the three main causes. Beyond that, though, what can we look for in our homes that could be something that should be maintained or improved, and might cause more commonly cause fires?
Jim, my internet connection got a little goofy there, so I couldn't understand what you were asking.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was me. I don't know. Anyway, beyond men, women, and children, what are the causes of fires in the home that we really need to mitigate and watch, to make sure that they're maintained and so on?
Yeah, careless cooking is the leading cause of fires in Madison and nationwide. It's just it, whether it's, leaving things unattended, cooking. People are in such a hurry. Everyone wants to cook on high, especially when you're cooking with an oil or something like that. And then also, the former fire chief and I were having a conversation about careless cooking in Madison, and he said we have a careless cooking problem, but we also have a careless drunk cooking problem in Madison. And that whole relationship between whether it's alcohol or other drugs and trying to cook at the same time, they're the numbers are there that show that that's really the big problem is the cooking fires.
What about appliances? I know that we're careful not to leave home with the washer and dryer going, or the dishwasher. Are those safety issues too?
Fortunately, the manufacturers that worked with Underwriters Laboratories and other testing laboratories and safety standards, whether it's Consumer Product Safety Commission, they are really safe appliances. They really are good. The only thing with a dryer, a closed dryer, you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not using that corrugated dryer vent. That whether it's plastic corrugated or aluminum corrugated, you want a solid aluminum connection from the dryer to the outside exhaust from the house. That corrugated stuff just collects all the lint, and then as the lint builds up, it reduces the efficiency. As it reduces the efficiency, it creates heat, and then that lint can catch fire.
How about kitchen stoves, Ed?
Anything else?
A lot of people are thinking, geez, if I just had that new gas range, that's what I need to be a real master chef. Is there a big advantage other than, preference on that? Is there a fire hazard for having gas in a multifamily dwelling?
No,
No?
you use appliance right.
Mhm.
It's no more dangerous than electric or anything like that. But again, it's all about using it right, and
Mhm.
staying in the kitchen when you have something on that stovetop.
Mhm.
The fire department came up with a saying a few years ago. I think even my wife came up with it. Was "Stand by your pan." Like that song "Stand by Your Man."
Stand by your pan.
Yep.
You mentioned that in the bedroom you have this arcing hazard, right? Did I understand that correctly? That you're more likely to have this arcing problem in the bedroom? Why is that? Is that table lamps, electric blanket? What's in the bedroom that causes this hazard?
It's because you think about with the bedroom, it's generally overloaded, and then also it's the cords running behind the headboard, the nightstand, around and behind the chest of drawers, those kinds, and the rubbing, the appliances just opening the drawers and those kinds of things. It breaks down the insulation on the cord and causes a fire.
Oh, come to think of it, that is how we have our house. I mean, everything goes back in behind something in the bedroom, right? So, oops.
Yep. Yeah, we've been really good with tracking fires and causes of fires, and we've got good data. We know where the hazards are.
Anyone else got some questions here? Don't want to turn Ed out too early. Probably have to go to some committee meeting here.
I just wondered, and you mentioned gas and electric stoves are the kind of the same in terms of hazards, but what about the effect of burning the gas? Is any consequences for the safety or for the health?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I need to turn you up a little bit here.
Well, I just wondering about using the gas stove. When you burn the gas, is any issues I mean, for the health? I mean, for, being inside in our homes during the winter, especially.
Yeah, good question. As long as the stove is maintained, cleaned, and what have you, when you're burning natural gas for cooking purposes, it burns so clean that you don't have the carbon concerns. There's always going to be a little bit of carbon monoxide from anytime you're burning natural gas, but with the stoves and cooktops, like I say, they're burning it so clean that you're just not getting much carbon monoxide. Every stove over time, every gas stove over time is going to need to be replaced because it's going to start giving off some carbon monoxide, and that's going to have the carbon monoxide alarms in the home. Yeah, anytime you have a fuel burning appliance, whether it's a fireplace, gas dryer, gas fireplace, gas stove, you've got to have carbon monoxide alarms in the home.
About the gas fireplaces, we had one installed a few years ago, and we haven't had it. We've had, our furnace is checked every single year, but I haven't had that gas fireplace checked. Is there somebody that can do that? I didn't even ask the fireplace guy if he could come and look at it. Is that a hazard?
Mike, that's something that really we've always referred over to our mechanical inspectors over building inspection department. I'm not sure what they recommend for maintenance on a gas fireplace.
It's interesting. I have to contact the fireplace company and see what is up on that. And when you go to install these alarms, and you got your fire alarms, carbon monoxide, and there's all kinds, a whole range of prices. I'm looking to save money where I can. Is there any advantage to buying the fire alarm or the carbon monoxide alarm that's double the price?
Yes, I think so, because as I said, smoke alarms really should be the 10-year battery and tamper resistant. You can get the 9-volt battery detectors off the shelf for about $6, but the tamper resistant 10-year battery, I think they're going to cost you, well, as you said, double. They're going to cost you about $14 to $17. And I think it's well worth it. Yeah.
And if you're working with a small kitchen,
They also
like
have a
many
hush
of us
button,
are,
so that if you do get that nuisance alarm, false alarm, you just push the hush and it'll silence. I'm sorry, Mike, you're cutting out. I think my interconnect connection is a little wavery.
Yeah, the internet's a little bit unstable there. And maybe just repeat your last answer.
Oh, sure. About the, yes, as you said, that the better smoke alarms are going to cost you twice as much. And the better smoke alarms, the ones that we recommend, for the 10-year battery with tamper resistant compartment. And they also, those detectors have a hush button. So if you get that nuisance smoke from whatever it might be, burn the toast, you can go hush up the detector and you're not taking the battery out. You're not compromising safety. Whereas the $6 ones that are on the shelf, they don't have the hush button. And so what are you going to do? You're either going to take the device down or you're going to remove the battery. That's just what people do.
One of the biggest pains with smoke detectors is sometimes I forget to watch my pan and all of a sudden it starts smoking, and then,
right.
It's not, there's no fire. It's just that I'm a bad cook or inattentive cook.
Okay.
And, so then I just decide, to disconnect the battery. I don't have the new 10-year ones. I still have that old style that was put in a long time ago. Where can you put a fire alarm? Where should it be put if you are an inattentive cook, let's say, and you're using high heat?
Yeah, we know that most people die. The way we want smoke alarms is on every level of the home and in the bedroom, as well as within 15 feet of the bedroom door. We want to make sure that if there's a fire in the bedroom, that you're alerted. And then also if there's a fire elsewhere in the home, that you're alerted before the smoke, compromises the way out of the house. So that's what we say, within 15 feet of the bedroom door. Kind of the hallways, the pathways to the exits. You really don't want any smoke alarms in the kitchen. You really don't want any smoke alarms within about 15 feet of the kitchen stove or the kitchen area.
Mm-hmm.
The new technology on the smoke alarms, they're actually able to sense the difference between cooking smoke and other smoke. It's very, very new technology, but it is out there.
So a fire alarm in every room of the house except the kitchen.
You can do that.
Yeah.
We do not have them in every room of the home.
Mhm.
We don't have them in the living room, dining room, the sleeping areas in the hallways is really the key points.
Okay. How high up should your carbon monoxide detector be? I see some people plug them in down at the base, near the base, they're on the floor. Other people have them up a little bit higher. What's the recommendation there?
Either. Carbon monoxide dilutes well in air, and it's really not any heavier or lighter than normal air. So wherever you can plug it in and leave it alone and maintain it, that's the location.
Okay.
Yep.
One thing that, if you're out buying, a house, they're often going to mention, oh geez, what's the name of that gas? The one that accumulates in the
Radon.
radon. Yeah, radon.
Yeah.
Are there any detectors for that? Other than having your house scoped every once in a while?
Mike, that is not something that I'm very familiar with.
Okay.
It's not an immediate safety hazard, so it's not something the fire department deals with. I think that it's more of the long-term health impacts rather than something that we're going to respond to.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's see. I was thinking about. I guess I've got always a lot of questions. If no one else is chiming in, who else? Anyone else? Well, Ed, then I'm going to pile on here. A lot of us, again, we're buying the $6 detectors, and we're hiring unlicensed maintenance men. Right? Do you ever find that maintenance, or how often would you find that maintenance is the cause of fires? You hire an electrician who says, yeah, heck yes, I did my dad's, and he's still not burned up. So.
Yeah, I don't know that we really tie it back to that the call. Our fire data doesn't tie it back to that kind of a cause. We're going to look at, whether it was was it an appliance, was it, electrical installation, but in terms of, whether it was from maintenance or lack of maintenance, our data our investigations really don't take it that far back, Mike.
Okay. I wouldn't want to be my own electrician. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
It's worse than my cooking.
Right. No, and personal safety also. If you don't know what you're doing there, you're gonna end up electrocuted.
Yeah, that's right. When they're redoing the sprinklers in a house, have you ever had people who actually put sprinklers in houses? Are they in new houses?
Yeah, we see probably 3 or 4 a month that people get permits to install fire sprinklers in homes. Okay. It's becoming more of a routine. There are some communities like Scottsdale, Arizona, where they're required. There are a good number of communities in the country that require home fire sprinklers, and that's really I'm hoping the future of fire safety in the country.
Mhm. Does, having, if the house has solar electric in it, I mean, not bought from the electric company, but if they're producing their own, are there any hazards associated with that? Perhaps with the battery storage unit, or is all of that stuff kind of modernized and people don't have to worry about it?
Yeah, exactly right. There've been so much research and science and what have you put into solar energy systems that they are very, very reliable, and they're very safe. 25 years ago, maybe not, but we have really good, strong building codes, electrical codes.
Mhm.
They're a good idea, and they are very safe.
Mhm. I always worry about that because, even just my, cell phone, when I put it on and charge it quickly, I mean, quick charge means hot. And so I just got to thinking maybe there would be some hazard there, but it's good that they're thinking on that.
Yep. But that does require maintenance. It's not like the power you're getting through a line or MG&E that you can use day in and day out. Those solar systems, the batteries do require maintenance, but again, they have lots of safety systems built into them to tell you when there's a potential failure.
Mhm. Anyone else?
Yeah, just briefly going back to the home sprinkler systems.
Mhm.
Any idea, Ed? I know this is far afield probably, but how much it costs to retrofit a home with a sprinkler system?
Yeah, it's Jim, it's probably $5 to $7 a square foot.
Okay.
It's
And you'd have,
it's really
would
going to depend. It's going
you'd
to
have a plumber
depend,
do that, or are there
the
companies
contractor.
that just do that? Ed, I asked, would you have a plumber do that, or is it, are there
My internet connection or somebody's internet? I think that we are doing training with plumbers to get plumbers to install the systems. And sprinkler here in Madison, most of those are being done by plumbers.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay, anyone else? All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, then Ed, I'll just thank you very much for giving us all of this terrific information today, and for being involved with Triad all these years. Ed's been on our Triad committee for a long time and does a great job. He and Jim Jenkins are quite a duo when it gets to, helping us out with safety issues. And so I really appreciate you doing all this for us.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. It was great seeing you again.